Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Conversation Capital with myself, Ursula Mariani, your host, and Ubonga Bueta. Hi, girl. How are you?
I'm good, Kaz. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you. We've also got Given Masilela Unjai.
I'm good. And you?
You know, one of the things, thank you. One of the things, apparently I don't answer that question.
Yeah,
when you
you
guys
don't.
ask it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that, is a highlighting theme around the people that we attract on the podcast is people that are navigating careers, either starting off, that's the age range we're attracting people that are starting off. And another option is, people that are like, they're doing their Saturn return around their 30s that are segueing into different careers. And looking into niche careers, I think, is really important because we all know doctor, lawyer, but there are certain careers that you're like, what does this person do? So we said, Arkin right there. You want to play with the big boys.
The Loeries Award winner.
Loeries Award winning. So Tshepo Tumahole, hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Someone that looks like us, that comes from where we come from, 18. That's right. So it's a Val-centered show today, I believe, Zone 14, Zone 10, really representing here. And we want to chat to a copywriter, and not just any copywriter, one of the best copywriters in the country.
Thank you.
Did you just get shy when I
No.
said that? You just get shy.
I did.
Listen, it is what it is.
He's saying this as if he hasn't been like ranked as.
Yes.
That's why it was so hard for me to, do I take it? Do I not?
No, you must take it because you've been certified to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're in the advertising space, you would know that there's something called the Loeries, I think, which is probably, the peak of the awards that you can get. And you've been ranked number 1 in Africa and Middle East twice.
Yes.
So when I say you want to play with the big dogs, I know what I'm talking about, So it's really exciting to have you.
Yes.
And really just delving into, I remember the first time I heard of a copywriter, I was sitting at a coffee shop and, we start like random conversation with people next to us. And this guy said, I'm a copywriter. And I'm like, what is that, And so maybe let's just start there. What's a copywriter?
Copywriter. Also, your story is similar to mine. I'm going to tell you a funny story before I even get into it. So I studied copywriting without knowing what copywriting is.
Wow.
So that's how niche it is, and that's how much people don't know about it. But as a copywriter, what you do is you conceptualize ideas and you put them into words. So whether it's a script, whether it's a line on a billboard, whether it's a radio ad, so that's pretty much what we do, and we do it for brands. Hence, not just the writer, copywriter, we do it for brands. So a brand will brief us, maybe they want a TV ad, then what we do then, we would conceptualize with what we call an art director. So you work with an art director. So as the copy guy, you will write the script, and then the art director will help with the visuals, and then we present it, and then people see it on TV eventually.
Am I correct to say Generations was centered around an advertising agency?
Yeah,
Yes.
It was, and they would brainstorm ideas.
It was.
So you were watching that as a kid and you said,
Well, I was watching it, but I wasn't sure if it's something I want to do, right? Because it feels like it's something that's so far away from you when you come from where I come from, especially, like you look at a career like that and you're like, I'll see that on TV and that's it. So yeah, I mean, we were all inspired by it. We were watching it, but we never thought it's something that we would do ourselves.
That's really
So
cool.
what happened? Tshepo qeta matriki.
Yes, and when you say you studied it, what does that look like? Yeah, what is it?
So you finished matric.
Yes. So what happened? Funny story. So I wanted to be in marketing. I've always wanted to be in marketing. I wanted to be a brand manager because I wanted to drive the car, Red Bull, right? Or the car at Jack Daniels to be that guy, when I get to events. I'm the brand manager, guys, enjoy my product. I wanted that. And then I found out about there's a school called AAA, School of Advertising, and I found out about the school, but I wanted to study there until I saw the fees, right? As you know, it's a private institution, so it's not that affordable. So I gave up on that dream of studying there, but I still wanted to be in marketing. Then in matric, I think it was June, there was a bursary opportunity, right? And then I was listening to the radio randomly, and it was a collaboration with YFM. So they wanted people to write ads. So I just took a chance because I heard AAA, and I was like, okay, I can get in there and then study marketing once I'm in there if I get this bursary. So then took my chance, wrote the radio ad, and then I got a call that I made it into, I think it was the top 20. So top 20, I had to go to the school and then write another radio ad. Then top 10, then eventually I got the bursary, right?
A superstar.
So-
We're sitting with a superstar. Oh my gosh, I love this. Yes.
So that's how it happened. And hence I was saying that when I went into copywriting, I didn't know what it was. Remember, the whole thing was for me to get a bursary so that I can get into AAA. So then, yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was just like divine intervention. Like, you know, just getting into a school like that when I didn't even like, you know, plan or even like think that I would get into AAA. And so what was fun is that I wrote my matric knowing that I'm already accepted in varsity. So even if I had failed, I would have been fine. So yeah, that's how I got into
What a
advertising.
story.
Nah, yeah. And who takes those things seriously? But like you said, divine intervention. That's what I believe. That's a story of divine intervention when you're at the right place, doing the right thing, you know, for you. And so, okay, fine. Then you start studying at AAA. What happens next?
So I start studying at AAA. Obviously now it's a new environment. Now you're taking it seriously and they're really equipping you, right? In terms of, okay, this is what you need to prepare for. This is what the industry is like. You know, what's the difference between, you know, an insight and an idea, you know, all those things. Like that's where you get your training. Then after AAA, I went on to work at an agency called Black River. So Black River used to do all those Nando's ads that we liked. So the time they were really focusing on like politics and stuff. So Black River used to do that. And I told myself that, damn, I need to go work there. But then sad enough, when I got there, they lost the client. Right? But then the experience was amazing. I worked with a mentor called Ahmed Tili, like he's a legend in the industry. So I worked with Ahmed and he really groomed me. Like he really made me work. You know, like I remember in my interview, he told me that if you want to work hard, stay with me. Or if you want to just be another creative, then go to another agency. And for me, I took that seriously. I was only supposed to be there for a month, but week number 3, they offered me a contract and I ended up working there for like 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was my first job. Then I went to Joe Public in 2017. That's when I started working on Chicken Licken, NetBank, all those brands. And yeah, I'm still at Joe Public now as a creative director.
Yeah, I saw the other day the founder of Joe Public. Why am I forgetting his name?
Pepe. Pepe Murray.
No. Is it Pepe?
Gareth Lake? Yeah.
Is it? But doesn't he have another name?
No.
S was here, by the way, guys.
Colisa.
S was here, so that's why Ashla's looking on the side.
Okay, yeah, S was here. Oh, okay, yeah, basically, Joe Public is doing great things. That was the point of what I was getting at. I saw this guy he's not the founder, he's one of the guys that are there, and I'm like, Joe Public is doing amazing things. So you moved from, basically what I was getting at, you moved from an amazing agency to another amazing agency. And do you think that catapults your career as a copywriter? Because I think from the discussion that I had with the guy at the coffee shop, it's not an easy career to be in. And I think the agency can sort of make or break you. Is that correct?
That's true. I mean, at Joe Public, one of the biggest things is growth, right? So the purpose of the agency is to grow its people, grow its client, and grow the country, right? So when you walk into an environment like that, you yourself need to grow. So when I joined Joe Public, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Yeah. That's what I wanted to become. I wanted to see myself as a creative director one day, because I joined as a copywriter. And then, so in advertising, you start off as a copywriter, junior copywriter, then you become what they call a group head, a creative group head, then you become a creative director.
Okay.
So yeah, and I think what's also important in terms of choosing an agency is the clients you're going to be working on. So I knew that people love Chicken Licken ads, right? And I knew that I wanted to write them. So yeah, so for me, going to Joe Public was also because of the clients that they had, and they're also part of the reason why the agency is so successful.
Can you walk us through some of, we asked you this off camera, then we're waiting for the answer on camera. What are some of your favorite ads? So personally, ones that you've written, and also generally.
So my favorite one, it's hard. Like it's like asking me to choose who's my favorite child. But I think the one that I enjoyed writing the most was the Michael Knight one, Michael Nyati, for Chicken Licken. So it was very fun. I mean, you take something you grew up watching and you just imagine it happening in Soweto, and it happens, right? Which is I think for me, it's a blessing to be in an industry where you can just think of an idea and people pay millions for it, and you see it happening, So I think that would be my favorite ad, or one that I enjoyed writing. And then in terms of other people's work, I would say there was an ad a long time ago for SABC One, where there was a white guy going through life as a black person.
Yes.
You know, I think for me, it still remains one of the most iconic ads we'll ever see. And I think it's just because it's a fresh approach. It's something different. It's something that makes you think, you know, you actually look at it and you're like, geez, I didn't think of life that way. So for me, it was one of the smartest ads, and I still aspire to create something like that.
Wow. For me, my favorite ad is it Mono Mhlobo Wam? Where
The Telkom
man,
one.
Yeah, the Telkom one.
Yeah.
That's like, the best for me.
Guys, we want to hear in the comments what are some of your favorite, because as you guys are going through the summer.
The bravest ad ever. Kuku yak.
Which advert is
You
that?
don't remember it.
I know exactly.
Okay. Trust you to act like the prude in the room.
You know, why are we doing this ad thing? But I like the Joker one, where the guy's like, do you know who I am? And then she goes, excuse me, there is a man here who does not know who he is. Like, so she calls on the intercom the Joker ad. Yeah, I love that. That's one of my favorites. But you know, these ads have such an impact. I'm realizing now when we all think of an ad so quickly, they really have. And now we're paying to skip ads. Oh my gosh, guys, what's happening to the world that we're in? How does that work?
How does what work?
How does it affect you guys? I just thought of that now. How does it affect you guys? We're living in this climate where now things are moving off TV onto like online platforms, and how are you guys integrating advertising now? Is that something you have preview to, being on the creative side, or is that more like now financial? And you don't have to answer it if you don't want.
No, I think it's a matter of adapting, right?
Yeah.
You need to adapt to what's happening right now. People want content, and I think as much as we're a creative industry, we are a very slow one as well. People are making content. People do not mind watching a 2-hour podcast, right? But we still are in an industry that doesn't want to make an ad that's over 30 seconds because there's drop off. But then if you actually make content that people enjoy, people will actually watch your ad. They won't skip your ad. You know, so that obviously affects us, because once you're selling to people, people don't want to be sold to. Like, don't sell me on something. Talk to me. Create a story. You know, which is what copywriting is about. Tell me a story. You know, coax me into wanting your brand, to engage with your brand, because people do not buy something because it's there. People buy something because of the backstory, whether they saw an ad or whether there was a trigger in the sense of, you know what, this reminds me of home. You know, we choose products because of certain triggers, and those triggers sometimes come from ads. So if we do not adapt, then people are going to keep on skipping ads.
I love what you're saying.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying I love what you're saying, because often when people say, oh, they'd like to come chat about their book and whatever, the statement is always, come chat to us. And then at the end say, oh, and this is also in my book.
Yes.
You know,
yes,
chat to us, let us, let us want more, to hear more. And then at the end you'll be like, you can get more in the book.
Yes.
You know, because
yes,
it's exactly that. Once it starts sounding like an ad, we all skip.
Of course,
Yeah.
I'd skip myself.
Yeah, we all skip.
Look, I think at the same time, though, which I think that's a very good question, by the way, Ursh. I think at the same time, it's important to note that even though we're slowly moving away from traditional TV onto, all the streaming platforms right now, radio is still a thing. Radio is the most traditional form of media. Well, one of the most traditional forms of media we have right now. I don't want to talk much about newspapers because they are struggling quite a lot. But another thing is, even though people are paying to skip ads, it's also important to remember that the lower LSMs are, I say lower LSMs. Yeah, actually, I'm wrong in saying lower LSMs, because there are people who, I know friends who are balling and choose to watch ads. For one,
Bonga watches ads
on purpose. It's not even because they can't afford not to. So there will always be, Google is one of the biggest companies in the world, and it is an advertising company, basically. And also consider the fact that with podcasting as well, with any form of content creation on YouTube, on TikTok, there's still the person who's hosting or the person who's creating the content still has a segment where they give a shout out to a sponsor. So I feel like that will still be a thing as well. And those ads, I must say, I know a lot of people have this problem with content creators. We're good at creating the content, but we're not good at making the ads feel organic or natural or funny, or, it's just a read. and an ad read, it's like, ish, how can I, you can't even skip them as conveniently as you can skip so they're actually worse than what I paid to skip. True. You know what I mean? So I do think, Guti, there will always be a market for copywriters.
But like you said, yes, absolutely. Even like when you talk about creative ways of working around it, if I look at placements, just something as basic as placements, somebody drinking out of a Coke bottle, it familiarizes you with the brand, and they're not even saying anything about the Coke bottle. Sometimes it's just then all of a sudden, hey, let's Coke.
Exactly.
So they are, these creative, sneaky ways that I think you guys are doing things, and it's really cool. It's really cool to see. But somebody's listening to us, and all they're hearing is hong, hong, hong. So let's break it down. What does an average day at the office look like?
An average day at the office. So what we work on is briefs. So it's called a brief. So you'd walk in and you are given a brief, right? So this whatever brand, I don't want to name brands. Yeah. It's whatever brands.
TCC.
So they need a TV ad or a radio ad for this particular product. So you walk into the office, and then now you're faced with this brief, right? So you're like, okay, cool. I need to talk to this specific audience. So then you brainstorm, like, what would convince me to buy this product? And I think that's the most important thing actually for creativity and copywriting. So don't write something that you wouldn't enjoy yourself. So I always tell myself that if I wouldn't enjoy this, or if I wouldn't laugh at this, why am I writing it? Why am I expecting someone else to love it? So for me, then I'll brainstorm. Then, like I said, you work with an art director, so you'll brainstorm with your art director. Then once you think you've cracked it, there are things that we call reviews. Then internally, there's your executive creative directors. There are people who service the client internally. So you present your ideas, which is what Esbo does. So you'll present those ideas. And then if they like it and they buy into it, then you present it to clients. So in a day, you'd probably find yourself working on a brief, brainstorming, then having that review, right, in a day. Then eventually, maybe 2 days later, you present that idea to client. If the client loves it, then it gets made. So pretty much that's the process of what I do.
Sure, but isn't that tricky in the sense that your art is always...
I'm thinking the exact same thing.
Because who was it that came and that said... Oh, it was Shirley Heavens that came and said, it's difficult to have your art critiqued because the art feels like your baby, and she's like, how are you going to feel when somebody says your baby's ugly? You're going to fight someone. So, this is your creativity that you're putting out there to the Asbos. Thank you, because I never knew what my friend does, by the way, like this whole time. I never knew what Asbo does, so thank you for explaining that. Nice. But so now you're there, and you're putting these ideas out, and this is your heart, this is your soul, this is your creativity. And I'm saying this specifically because when people ask me how to get into voiceovers, I always say to them, you must be very comfortable with being critiqued, right? Because it's you constantly, there's no way they have to make you repeat one sentence 5 million times in 5 million different ways. And it's a game of critique, and you have to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable with getting critiqued, you're not going to survive. And so I'm listening to you, and it sounds like you have to be somebody that's...
Yeah, no, thick skin for days. You have to. You have to have one. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you get really rude people, but not all the time. Yeah. But you have to live with it. I mean, people won't love everything you do. So you come up with an idea, present it. If they don't love it, you go back to the drawing board.
Have you ever had an idea that somebody rejected, and in your heart you said, "Bar"?
Many times. Many times.
Where you're like, I'm onto something great.
And the worst thing, right? You present the idea and they reject it. And 2 years later, you see it done, obviously in a different rendition. Yes. But you're like, this is similar. And then it wins awards.
Booming, yeah.
And like, you see?
Yes.
You see? So it happens all the time.
And do you find that as a young person, some of your ideas get... rejected just purely because maybe you're dealing with someone who doesn't understand where our society is?
Or someone older is what you mean. That's what you mean.
I'm actually going to extend.
I want to ask it as bluntly, because for me, I feel like I'm there.
Yeah, but even extending beyond age, we're talking about race. We're talking, maybe you don't experience the sex discrimination, but along those lines.
Maybe he does.
Yeah, along those lines. Yeah, maybe it's a woman saying, "Oh, what does a man know about pads?" or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
And so, do you ever find yourself in a space where discrimination plays a big role?
Yeah, I mean, I think as people, we obviously have, you know, our own opinions about certain things, and with that, it influences how we react to those things, right? So some people are predisposed to certain things, some people are not. So you have to also find a way to sell your idea in a way that you need to be conscious that not everyone grew up in civil game. You know what I mean? So I need to give you a backstory as to why this would work. You know, not everyone understands, you know, this kind of lifestyle. Not everyone goes out. Not everyone, you know, so you need to have also that at the back of your head when you're presenting an idea, right? But I mean, we can't get around it, you know. If someone doesn't get it, it's up to them whether they're open enough to want to learn about what you're telling them or not. But yeah, you get that quite a lot. And what I always say is always talk about what you know of. You know, so for me, I do not like doing things that I do not know, or working on briefs that I feel like are far removed from me, because then I'm going to misrepresent those people, right? So if I have to talk about something that I do not know and I'm asked to write about it, the person looking at that ad eventually will feel misrepresented, because maybe that's not what we do. That's not how we say it, you know. That's not how we use that sentence. So for me, it's always important to always give the job to the right people and trust the people to do the right job.
I'm even reflecting now, there's probably a lot of research that goes into this.
Yeah.
So if you've never played golf a day in your life and you have to do an advert on a golf, what do they call it?
Or a golf challenge. Or
a golf whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm imagining that maybe you might take a day on the golf course.
Yeah.
To sort of, does it go under working hours?
It does. It does.
You want to this is the right job for me, man.
It does.
You want to this is the right job for me. I like it. Like, you know, imagine you have to advertise a spa. And you have to go to a spa day to really get the experience. Am I correct?
I mean, depends who's paying, right?
Yeah. But guys, we're in the wrong career, guys.
So yeah, we do that, like quite a lot. And for me, I like keeping myself, you know, exposed to different things and trying to always do what's different to what I know, right? So, and because that helps me. If like right now, I'm no longer that young. But if I'm asked to advertise a student account, I need to hear what the young ones are saying. You know, I recently found out what Riz is. You know, those kind of things. You know, you need to know what they're saying. You need to understand where they are in life. So yes, we do go offsite. Sometimes it's fun because when you don't feel like being confined in an office space. Yes. Then you just need to go outside and look at, you know, go to Rosebank or wherever, look at people do things. And sometimes ideas come from that. You know, you're like, oh, imagine if I did that and I put that in an ad. So you need that. You need to open up yourself to different things.
Oh, man.
By the way, Ursula, don't you feel seen? He just learned what Riz is. You also learned what Riz is, not someone else.
Oh, did he say Riz or Rez?
Riz.
I mean, I learned a year ago. So I
don't think it's a year.
I think that makes me cooler than the number one copywriter.
What are your thoughts on the advent of AI? Because I imagine, particularly within copywriting, a lot of people might want to cut corners. For one, and I'm realizing now, as we from the topic we're just coming from now, is that because of the nuances that exist within certain cultural contexts, I mean, let alone the fact that AI probably doesn't know. I love using Limpopo. I don't know why. I don't know why. But the reason I'm saying that is there is certain cultural nuances that don't exist on the internet enough for AI to learn how people in this environment prefer to speak, how they prefer to prepare their meals, how they there are some cultures where having a drink next to your meal is actually not a thing, as much as we're used to doing that, right? So I wonder if that's one of the spaces where human beings are going to continue being competitive, where for us, learning culture and the nuances within it is much easier than for AI, because we don't have some of its limitations. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so firstly, your first question around people cutting corners, yes, they've started doing it. But there are means and ways to, to check if something is plagiarized or AI did it. So we are quite ahead in terms of like people trying to get away with AI. But another interesting thing is that, you think AI is like, it's westernized, and back to your question around culture, right? So I'll give you an example in terms of what's happening around the world right now, and I'll come back to the South African context. So people are finding that with AI, yes, it's fast, you can do things we couldn't do before. But when people watch ads that feel like there's a lot of AI, people are removed.
Yes.
So now there's a need for a human touch again.
I unsubscribe from channels that I can see too much AI here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly. So that's what's happening. So there'll always be a need for that human perspective, that human touch, etc. But from a local point of view, AI will never catch us, guys. There's no way I will know what happens in Limpopo, and which is for me, I think it's a plus for us, but also it's also something that we need to be conscious of, in the sense of when we tell our stories, let's tell the stories that AI can touch. Let's start doing that, because I think it's for me, it was a realization that actually we do possess, something that the internet cannot take away from us. So let's start doing that. Let's start embracing that, So yeah, I think for me, AI, yes, it's great. It's an amazing tool. Trust me, it makes my job easier, because things that would take me a day to figure out, I can do it in hours. But it doesn't mean that now I need to depend on AI to really tell a story.
Especially the creative element of it, because at the end of the day, it's creativity that you're bringing to the table, creative director. And then one of the things I wanted to ask as you're speaking, my understanding is that your work is very Afrocentric, right? And so you're highlighting this. You're highlighting that you're this person who's bringing like a decolonial aspect to our stories into advertising. Going back to your adverts, like Molum Program,
I really, a lot of Tshepo's work, when you follow him, LinkedIn or wherever you come across it, obviously it's a team effort, right?
Yeah.
But all the things you work on, I find that you're very passionate about bringing our stories, so is that something you intentionally or your team intentionally does? I feel like it's a big thing for you.
Yeah, and I'll speak anecdotally, right? So for me, we don't have enough Black heroes, guys. So I feel like it's my duty to show the African child that
That's so
a Black
true.
person can actually, be a star. We don't need to always be in the background. So if you look at my work, I'll reference the Michael Nyati thing again. We got the real Michael Knight, but we took a South African guy, Michael Nyati, and made him the hero. The car chose the South African guy over the real Michael Knight. And if you look at, there was one that we did again about football, right? Yes, as much as, it was a football story, but it was a Black story as well. There's one that we did recently about the fastest man in the world, who is a Black character. So, I do that intentionally because I want to see stories that I didn't see growing up. And I want to tell those kind of stories. I want to imagine the Black guy as being the hero. I want to imagine the Black guy as being the fastest man in the world, even though you're saying he's also the fastest man in the world. But, so I like telling Afrocentric stories because I need to show people, more Black people doing amazing things.
And like you're a Black kid doing amazing things.
Yeah.
As you're saying it, I'm like, you're telling the story of yourself. Because there's a kid from Zone 10 who's like,
What?
listening,
I can be paid to,
and he's
to,
from
to
here.
come up with ideas.
That's it's I always imagine, and I don't know whether this is a silly question, but I always imagine that these creative spaces, the offices are colorful. And is that true?
Some offices are colorful. Mine is not.
Okay.
Mine is not, but mine has an amazing view though, because then I can just look outside, see people going on about their day, and that inspires me. So it depends. Other people like having like a lot of pictures on the wall, because that motivates them. Maybe seeing a cat could trigger an idea, and now there's a funny ad about a cat. So it's different things that inspire certain people. For me, give me a view, give me a nice window, I'll work there.
But thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Somebody's listening, and like we keep pointing towards, painting story being the hero. And I'm saying in this instance, you are the hero. You are the person that looks like this black kid who did something so amazing off a radio ad on YFM, who took a chance on himself and said, hey man, that sounds like the school I want to go to, and got the bursary. You are living the story of the hero. And so somebody's listening to you.
Are you asking a closing question?
Yes, I am.
Can I ask one before?
Yeah, sure.
Prior. Firstly, or rather, let me ask this one, then you answer, then I'll ask the next one. What does a creative director look like on a day-to-day? Like, I feel like we spoke a bit more about the copyright side, but you as a creative director, what does that look like?
Okay, so once you step into a creative director role, then you have a copywriter and an art director now reporting to you. So they will present their ideas to you, and it's for you now to direct them and say, okay, cool, maybe let's not add this, add that, So pretty much what you're doing is you're reviewing ideas, you helping the team, you helping them craft the idea before it goes to client.
Okay. So you're taking it's kind of like you're the person who gives direction to what they're doing.
Exactly.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah, but how we do it at Joe Public, you have that, but we also still conceptualize, because I still love coming up with my own ads as well. So yeah, a normal creative director would just have a team, review with the team, and that's it. But what we're doing at Joe Public, we're keeping it a bit hybrid, where you'll still come up with ideas, but then you'll also have teams reviewing with you.
Yeah, in my journey, I studied marketing, and I tend to advise people not to do it. Not necessarily because it doesn't have jobs or people can't become great or anything like that. Well, one of the reasons, particularly one of the things that I've found is that it's so hard to access people like you in the creative space. And by access, I mean like to have this thing normalized to me. One of the things I found when I started working in a media space is I realized how everything started making sense, because one of the most common questions people ask, and I don't think we realize how big of a question it is for them, is like, how does radio make money? Like, because you understand how KFC makes money. Like, they make the chicken at the back, they shelf it there for a short while, you come, you buy, they package it, you leave, you swipe. You do the swiping. But in fact, we experience it in YouTube as well. There's so many people that actually, but it's much easier on YouTube because there's so many creators making videos about how to monetize on YouTube. But for people like you guys like to stay there in your pretty offices. and I say that in jest, by the way. But like, I do also wonder, like, how do we get, perhaps conversations like these are a step towards the right direction, but how do we normalize someone like you, where we tell a young person living in Epetali, Mzinoni or Mbalenhle, where we can then get them to understand that, okay, this is how long it takes. Because, sometimes people study careers and then realize that once I get the degree, I actually still have a mile to go. Like, there's still I need to start good groundwork. I'll be the guy who delivers the coffee. And the reason why that depresses you is because no one prepared you for it prior.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the fact that you're actually going through that. Because lawyers know, I actually realized this quite late. Lawyers know that they could start with a 2.5 as a salary. And I found that to be incredible. And you're still choosing to be a lawyer. It's like, doesn't take that long to make real money, dude. Yeah. Because it's a conversation that they have amongst each other. Yeah, I'm wondering though, and I know there probably won't be any real solid answer to that question. But what are your thoughts on getting a young person to understand that you exist and for what you do to become normal?
Yeah, I agree. We don't tell enough of these stories.
Yeah.
I myself am guilty. Like, I don't really talk about myself a lot, and I think what we need to start doing as an industry, especially advertising, because we do preach transformation, but we actually need to start doing, effort, or making efforts rather, towards that transformation we speak of. But I think for now, what we can do is to allow people access to our DMs. ask me, talk to me, we'll engage. But I think as an industry going forward, we need to do a better job at going to these township schools, going to these remote places and actually talking about what we do, because we do need Black people in our industry, guys. We are serving a market of Black people. We need Black people to tell those stories and sell to those people. So yeah, we could do better, I'll have to admit.
And this is a start.
This is a start. Yes.
So I'm definitely in the audience, but I have a question. And it kind of it ties in perfectly maybe to what you've just answered. But I've in having, I would say, the privilege of working with you, I saw you in a different light at a certain point, where you're at a different point in your career. And now you're a creative director, which is huge, at one of the best leading agencies. I'm just curious to understand, in the moments that maybe we were working together or years prior, you obviously had received certain kind of a mentorship, right? And you're speaking about Ahmed Tilly earlier on. I'm curious to know, what nuggets have you taken from the mentorship that you've received, or the gaps that you've noted exist, to actually feed it into your art director and your copywriter that come up to you every single day? Is there a certain kind of molding work that you apply to them, or like certain, I don't know if I'm making sense, there's a certain way that you want to craft them and mold them in the same way that you've received? Or is it kind of like not that deep for you? Do you just see it as a way of doing your job every day? Or is there extra investment that you want to make into these people?
There is an extra investment, and I think for me, I live by giving back. You gain more in life by giving back, and that's for me my biggest thing in life. You need to give yourself, you need to give your time, because you were also given that time and that privilege before, right? So why would I want to keep it to myself when I can actually do the same for the next person? So what I was taught is to craft. Never think that your first idea is your best one. Never think that the first script that you write is going to be the one that wins awards. So that's something that I took with me, and it's something that I'm imparting to people that I work with, that you need to always craft. Never give up on the first idea, even if it means going back 5 times to write the same thing, but eventually we'll get the right one. So I'm a very, very firm believer of crafting. And that's what I'm imparting. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to tell someone to go back and rewrite the script when they feel like it's perfectly fine. But I know eventually it will work out, and you will realize why you needed to do it over and over again. And I think even in life, right? Even in life, you have to always practice stuff. You always need a way of mastering something, but you actually master something by actually making it a habit. So for me, yeah, it's something that I apply both in my work and life.
You put in the 10,000 hours, yes, ma'am.
Yes, and just to, as we wrap up, because we do have a little time left, while we're speaking about the knowledge that you're imparting, what's the one thing you wish you had known early in your career that you think could help other upcoming people in your industry?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And you know what you're talking about. So that for me is something that I wish I knew, because I mean, when you start working, I remember, guys, I was like, I was about 19, 20 when I started working, and you're presenting to like a CMO of like a big corporate, right? Like you're in a boardroom, there's a lot of people just listening to you present a script, obviously the nerves are going to kill you, but when you're there, it's almost like you're standing on a precipice and you're about to fall down. But like once you actually tell yourself that I wrote the script, I work hard on this, let me just sell it the best way I can. How they receive it, I have no control over. So that's something I would like to maybe advise creatives, whether it's copywriting or just any other creative out there, that if you've worked hard and you did your best and you believe this is the best art you could put out there, if people don't appreciate it, you can't control that. You can control how much time you put into an artwork. You can control what the effort you put into an artwork. So yeah, that for me is something that I wish I had known earlier.
Sure. So I think, yeah, we've all circled around advice, younger people, so forth and so on. So my parting question is, I think it's been covered.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been covered. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for sharing with us and sharing with the young people out there. I know somebody's listening who's now being exposed to this career. I know that I've heard that a lot of parents send these videos to their kids
Oh.
as career options.
Ah, nice.
So I'm also enjoying that. So I hope some kid reaches it in grade 11 and says, Mom, I also want to go to AAA.
I hope so. And there are other schools. I mean, there are other schools out there. Don't let like things like maybe a certain school is expensive stop you from actually getting into advertising. You know, write scripts. You know, send me scripts. You know, I can advise you. You know, we don't necessarily just depend on people who've graduated to create ideas. That's I think the beauty about being in a creative industry. Because I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw my CV or my metric certificate, because we don't get hired based on those things. You get hired based on, this is the work that I've done. This is the work I can do for your agency. Please hire me.
A portfolio,
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
called that.
Yeah, it's called a portfolio.
That's absolutely amazing. Guys, that was today's episode of The Conversation Capital. Show us love in the comment section. If you're in advertising, let us know, what your journey has been like and what are your tidbits and little nuggets of wisdom and knowledge. And show Tshepo Tumahole some love. You won't believe I practiced his name and surname so much that I can't believe I'm stumbling over
Also,
it now.
other niche careers.
Oh, yes, that
in the
you'd like to
comments.
find out
Yes,
about.
yes.
Oh, that's an interesting
Right?
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we'd
Tell
love
us in the comments what you do that other people don't know of. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the viewers at home. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. For now, though, goodbye and God bless.